Straight from the man cave, Kinnick Under the Kitchen. Authentic, original player artwork available for Hawkeye fans across the country. Now, in addition to the classic sign prints of Hawkeye greats like Chuck Long, Torrey Taylor, and Cooper DeJean, more authentic prints are coming, including current Iowa football stars Cade McNamara, Luke Lachey, and Xavier Wampa. There are so many options available. They make great gifts. Plus, your purchase benefits the athletes themselves and your favorite Hawkeye program from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook, visit the stand each year at FryFest, or check out their website, underthekitchen.square.site. Again, that's underthekitchen.square.site. Check out Under the Kitchen today and get your authentic, original Hawkeye print. Very happy to welcome back a friendly face to the show. Kachine Alexander, former All-Big Ten guard, is with us as we talk about the start of Iowa women's basketball season. The season is very much underway. We're recording this on Monday. The Hawkeyes have their first regular season game on Wednesday. Kachine, you were already watching the top-ranked Gamecocks in a battle earlier today against a Big Ten foe. So basketball is back. The Hawkeye men are 1-0. So welcome back. You and I chatted here a week or two ago about a few different things. Caitlin Clark, Indiana Fever. We talked a little bit of Iowa women's hoops. It was fresh off my trip to Iowa City for Iowa Women's Basketball Media Day. We now have an exhibition in our rearview mirror. So welcome back, first of all, to this platform. You are a fan favorite. Everybody loves you, and rightfully so. You bring it each and every night, so we appreciate that. Let's start at the top. I mean, this is a new-look team without Caitlin, without Molly Davis, without Gabby Marshall. I mean, go down the list. Kate Martin, certainly. What are the top storylines in your mind heading into week one of the regular season?
A question mark. I think that there's so many different things, right? You have a new head coach. We haven't had a new head coach in Iowa since I don't even know how long Lisa Bluder was there. Forever. Okay. So that in a sense, yes, it is Jan Jensen, and she's been there just as long, right? But it's still not the same. It's different. And then you have your entire core group that were together for the 4 years gone. And I think there's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of new changes, and figuring out this new identity of this team that's where I'm at, and more so excited to figure out what that identity looks like, because it's not going to be the same.
The one thing I mentioned before we hit the record button, Kachine, is in the exhibition, Iowa played slower than some people expected, and I hit the airwaves for a brief post-game show and took calls, chatted with fans and whatnot, and that was one of the themes, is why did Iowa seem to play slower than they typically do? And I don't have an answer to that other than it is a new coaching staff to some extent, with not just Lisa Bluder gone, but Jenny Fitzgerald also heads into retirement, but it's also a different roster. And you take away someone like Caitlin Clark, who is the queen of playing fast, and then these ladies around who are exceptional in the fast break. Will this team be a team that just has to play a little slower with Lucy Olson and maybe not as much point guard depth?
I think that the type of players that you have are different. And Lucy is coming into a program, and she didn't grow up in this program. So that's different. Just like when Caitlin got to Indiana, they were not used to playing fast. You don't just get used to it just because. So I think that that's going to be a work in progress, because your ball handler has to be the leader. She's got to be pushing you to play fast. And considering that your ball handler didn't grow up in the program, and this is kind of going to be newer for her, it's going to take a little bit of time adjusting. Now, on the flip side of things, we are not in practice, so we don't know what they're doing. But the other thing is, Coach Jay is a post coach. So I expect a little bit more half court than Lisa Bluder. I do. I expect a little bit more half court. I expect a little bit more pounding in the paint. I expect a little bit more of that, especially Ava Hayden had a good showing, being able to just turn and score pretty quickly, pretty easily in that aspect. I mean, obviously the competition wasn't like top notch, but at the same point in time, it's still a very good showing in that aspect. So I do expect a little bit more half court, but at the same point in time, I do know there is a learning curve, especially when you didn't grow up in Iowa women's basketball, should I say.
And a couple takeaways for me from that exhibition. I do think Ava runs the floor exceptionally well, maybe in comparison to her counterpart, Addie. And so that'll be interesting to see how those two work off one another. And the question got brought up during the post game. Is this, and I think we addressed this last year, but some people seem frustrated already. One exhibition game in with.
Not frustrated.
Well, the lack of. I think people expect Addison O'Grady to be someone she's not.
Oh.
Is it fair to say like some players just progress to a certain point and they're going to serve a certain role? Not everybody can be Monica Sonano or Megan Gustafson, and I don't know that we can expect that out of Addison. Now, she did start that game. I will not be at all surprised if Kachine, we hit conference play and the true freshman is the starting big. I think she's got that potential, especially if Iowa can pick up pace of play a little bit.
I can agree with that. I think everybody has a ceiling. I know Iowa fans have become accustomed to post players coming in, biding their time, following behind whoever the post player is, and then eventually coming into their own and being like this amazing post player. Not everybody's like that. You know what I mean? Monica sat for years, right? And then she came in and tore it up. That's not everybody, unfortunately, because there were post players with Monica. We're not talking about them. So I think everybody has their ceiling. I think Addison is going to be what Addison is. I think she'll give us good minutes, but I'm not expecting her to be a wow factor. I'm not expecting her to be an X factor in that aspect. I do think Ava Hayden has a much higher ceiling, and I know from coaching experience that they're going to pay more attention to her than they will Addison because she has a longer way to go and has a higher ceiling. So I can tell you that I'm not saying they're giving up on Addison, but I'm also a coach and I know what conversations happen in behind the scenes, and guaranteed they're seeing like, oh, we can get her ready. Let's get her ready quicker. So, yeah.
One of the great things about having you here, Kachine, not only did you play the game at an exceptionally high level, you were a WNBA draftee, and you did have a stint in coaching college basketball. But I said earlier before we started recording, I made the comment that, maybe they'll redshirt somebody. And this is a pretty big freshman class. It's a pretty talented freshman class. Maybe you have the answer to this as well. Why are there more full ride women's basketball scholarships than men's basketball scholarships? Is that to account for the number of football scholarships that are awarded to men? Do you have the answer to that?
You know what's funny? Until this very moment, I guess I never paid attention to the men, but I always thought we all had the same. I just never really, women just don't.
Yeah, I believe the women have
women have 15.
Yeah, the women have 13.
Oh, okay.
So,
well,
I made the comment to you earlier. I said not all 15 can play. So
no.
Who is going to redshirt to the freshman class? And you're like, nobody's going to redshirt.
Nobody's redshirting. It never happens.
Explain to fans, because I'm sure there's some avid women's basketball fans who are going to be like, Corey, you should know this. But there's a lot of people who are fairly new to following this sport and latched onto it due to the Caitlin Clark era. And that's great. And we welcome everybody. But help people like myself and others understand why redshirting doesn't seem to be a thing in the women's game.
You know, it's funny. I'm not sure if there's rhyme or reason. As far as I'm concerned, it's never really been a thing. And the reason why I will say this is there are more injuries in women's basketball than there are in men's basketball. Meaning, I can tell you probably in my 4 years at Iowa, at least 2 of those years, one of those years, we had to go have tryouts in the middle of the season because we only had 6 available players. I remember that. And we had 15 people on our roster. And then another year, the same thing, we had gotten down to 9. So I think with all of that being said, you're going to have injuries. And a lot of the times in women's basketball, we end up having more injuries than men's basketball in general for, I'm sure, a plethora of reasons that many people want to say. But either way, it's never really been a thing for people to redshirt. It's just been either you play, you don't, you sit, you whatever, practice players, whatever you want to call it. And so, like I said, it's never really been a thing. It's funny to hear people say it, like, "Oh, they're freshmen; they're going to redshirt." I'm like, "Redshirt? Why? What do you mean?" So I think now maybe times have changed. Now, okay, I have been removed from. I was coaching Division I basketball for 10 years. I've been removed since 2022. So maybe things have changed. But when I was coaching, nobody redshirted unless you were injured. If you were injured or medical red shirt, then of course, academic, something like that, then yeah, but just because, nah.
Well, this is a very intriguing freshman class, and based upon playing time in game one, my thought was maybe Callie Levine red shirts. Now I'm starting to think that probably won't happen. If anything, she's just not going to play. And I'm not saying she won't, but 15 players is too many to play. You're going to have to trim that almost in half, right, Kachine? What's the ideal, do you think, for Jan?
8.
8 once we hit conference play?
Oh, yeah. 8 is like a good number. Everybody gets in a groove. Everybody's got, a sub here or there. You might push it to 9 or 10, but you're never going over 10. That's 10 is even a lot. But yeah, that's 8 to 10 is the range that you want to cut your rotation down to, unless you get in foul trouble or something like that. But that's usually your rotation.
So a lot of what we're doing on this show, folks, is just projecting and guessing. But
please do not shoot the messenger. Thank you.
For the sake of this conversation and for the sake of ease of practice, we're not going to name the 10 players we think will play, but I'll take a stab. If assuming 10 is the max, the cap, I'll give you 5 players that I think will not play. And it starts in regular minutes, right, Kachine? Because there will be times where somebody's called upon that doesn't normally fit into the rotation. So AJ Edgar's got to be on the list. It would be nice to get some good minutes out of her as a post, but based on what I saw in the season, I think it's clear Ava Heiden's jumped her, and you can only play so many people at the 5. Hannah's going to gobble up most of the minutes at the 4, and then Tegan Mulaney's going to filter in 3/4. So I would go with AJ. Kenise Johnson Etienne has not seen the floor. Not sure if she's down with an injury.
Agreed.
Aaliyah Guyton's out right now. So without seeing her back healthy, and I talked to her media day.
I could be a medical red shirt. Keep going.
Take a medical red shirt or just not play. Callie Levine would be on my list as well. And 5, Jada did not impress me in the exhibition.
There you go. I was about to say, what? Yeah, that one, definitely.
So, as it relates to the roster, there's 10 players, several of which are freshmen. Ava Heiden, Tegan Mulaney, Taylor Stremlow. They're going to need ball handling. Certainly, Lucy Olson's going to have to stay out of foul trouble. She picked up too many easy fouls, quick fouls in the exhibition, but it is an exhibition, first time out in Carver. It's a pretty big crowd. My guess is it's a bigger crowd than she was accustomed to at Villanova.
Oh,
we're talking about an
for sure.
So you've got 8 to 10 players that are regular rotation players. What is your ideal starting 5 with notwithstanding health? What is your ideal starting 5 where you put the best players on the court?
Like right now or eventually?
Right now. Well, obviously, ideally, you're going to develop a couple of these players, and maybe Ava Heiden turns into a starter.
Lucy Olson, Hannah Stolke, Sydney and Falter.
You're really going on a limb right now, Cash.
Listen, those 3, it's fine. It's just I'm trying. Here's the thing, right?
Did you buy yourself time by being real slow with those 3? You're like,
because that's exactly what I was doing. Here's the thing, right? Because I'm very high on Ava Heiden. I really am. I'm high on her, but I also like Tegan, and so doesn't mean it's not an option. But I'm also trying. The problem there is that means you're pushing Sydney.
Let's be totally honest. You're not as high on Kylie Feuerbach. I know that because we've had talks on these. You're not as high on Kylie.
Definitely not Taylor McCabe.
And you're not as high on Taylor McCabe. You just call it like it, and you're not as high on those two players. But I think both
No,
those
I'm
players
not.
have the opportunity to be cemented starters, whether you agree or not.
Both those players what?
I think both of those players have a chance to be. Now, Sydney Falter, her coming back.
I would give the nod to Kylie over Taylor.
Okay,
I will say that.
Is that because of Taylor's lack of lateral quickness, lack of defense,
lack of ball handling? The list can go on.
Okay.
But like she's a shooter. I get that. She can be a shooter off the bench. That's how I feel about it. In order for you to be a starter, you got to give me something else.
Yeah, she's got to give you something other than shooting.
You got to give me something else to be a starter.
In the NBA, they always use the term 3 and D, right? Because
you got to give me something.
Yeah, you're a great defender. So Taylor is not a great defender. Now, what if she becomes a really great rebounder this year, Cash? Like, what if she follows? What if she's been watching Kachine Alexander tape all off season and she just starts crashing the glass like nuts? Is that good enough to make her?
Now we're just rubbing on a bottle, wishing to genies at this point, because you can't. No, if there's anything that I've learned, you can't just become a rebounder. That doesn't work. So I don't know. That's how I feel about Taylor. So I don't know. But like I said, Kylie maybe, because she had some glimpses here or there where I was like, oh, okay, but most coaches are always going to go with their freshmen over anything else if their freshmen are showing initiative and showing that they can play. Because no coach is going to say this out loud, but you're going to invest more in your freshmen than you are your junior and senior if they're on the same level or up above. Guaranteed.
Well, let's be clear on this. I think you and I can agree on this one. If this team's going to exceed expectations, Taylor McCabe and Kylie Feuerbach are going to be needed. Like, both those players need to play well and play a good amount of minutes this season.
Seems stressful.
Kylie is too experienced, and
Agreed.
They just have a lot of youth, right? So, we talk about the 5 that aren't going to play. Of the 10 that are going to play, people like Kylie and Sydney, like those are your veterans. Kylie, Sydney.
This is really the one time where I'm not happy about our recruiting. Because
of not the freshmen.
Yes. Because you lost your entire core, right? Having so many freshmen is a recipe for ups and downs and disasters. Because you don't have any veterans like that. The veterans that you do have not played significant minutes. Except for you have Hannah, Sydney, the last half of the season. So we can't even really call her a veteran, right? Like, she's the last half of the season. She kind of came on. She played a ton of minutes. Great. You have Hannah Stokey, her, Lucy Olsen, but she's coming in from a completely different program. So, okay, fine. I still say that she is that. But I would have liked us not, especially knowing that we were losing this core, I would have liked us to be in the transfer portal a little bit more.
Well, they had they've only got 14 players on the roster. That's the other part.
Yes.
They could have they could have gone and gotten somebody, and they didn't. So
I would have preferred not to have this many freshmen. That's what I would have preferred. I would have preferred to have maybe 3. And then, like I said, dip into the portal, because
maybe that's a reason to red shirt. Maybe
it doesn't help you this year. Red shirting or not does not help you this year.
Yes, but you can change this moving forward, so you don't have this overhaul of players.
All those people ain't gonna be there come the end of their 4 years.
You're probably right about that. Yeah, and with the transfer portal era, it's changed even the women's game. Right? We can agree on that.
Yeah. That's my only thing.
So tell me, I think Tegan Mullaney is probably the dark horse, and then Ava Heiden's development, where she's going to play a lot as is, but how much can she develop in season is going to be key. What are your biggest keys to success for this team, besides just availability for Iowa's top 2 to 3 players in Lucy, Sydney, and Hannah?
We have to be an offensive powerhouse because we're not a defensive one. So we've got to be able to gel a little bit more. Like I said, I'm curious because I don't see this team running like that. I don't, based off of who we have. It's not really. I'd be surprised. Let's say that. I'd be surprised if we started like running the floor like we did the last however long. It just doesn't fit with this team, which again, every good coach knows that you have to fit with what you have. But keys for me is to one, get healthy. Let's start there. Okay, everybody get healthy so that they can actually play together and gel together. And my other key is also to gel. A lot of people are going to be put in roles that they haven't been in. A lot of people are going to be put in situations that they have not been in. So, including our head coach. So, I think that that's kind of the two biggest keys, but we also have to be able to shoot the basketball. Has to happen. So, typically Iowa does a very good job of shooting the basketball. So I'm not 100% worried about that, but it definitely has to be keys for us. I would love if Ava came in and like made an impact right off the bat. That would be great. I think that would help us tremendously.
And I think she will make an impact. But like I say, to what degree, I have no idea. And I think that will be, and I don't know how Jan will handle this. Like you said, oftentimes coaches invest in their younger players. Mm-hmm. Although Iowa women's basketball fans, a lot of these fans out here, Kachine, are also Kirk Ferentz Iowa football fans, and they've seen Kirk defer to older guys in situations where they're neck and neck. But I think the vast majority of coaches do exactly what you said. You mm-hmm. defer to a player because they've got more room to grow, that they're the future. I mean, if you followed mm-hmm. Iowa football enough and you look at like the Cade McNamara, Brendan Sullivan situation, people will know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyways, so what is different? What is going to be different about having Jan as your head coach? You and I have talked about it, but now we're here. Mm-hmm. Pace of play, kind of downplayed that a little bit, although with her being a post whisperer, that affects things, but it's more makeup of the roster, it sounds like, from your
I think so.
Point. So we've heard a few things about defensive wrinkles, maybe a greater emphasis on rebounding. I think you and I both hope that's those are both true things. What else do you anticipate being different with Coach Jay?
Honestly, I think those would be the biggest ones. I don't see her doing anything completely different defensively where we're like, whoa, I don't think so. I think also most of that is also the makeup of your team. So I don't foresee anything being different there on the defensive end. I think majority of the time we are going to see her just find her own this season, honestly. That's the key because she can't defer to anybody. It's just her up there. They say that one seat over is a big shift. So we'll see in regards to that. But I think we kind of already hit the nail on the head when it first came out of what we think is going to be different. But I'm just excited to see a couple different games under their belt just to see that, because you'll start to see a pattern. You can't get a pattern off of one game. So you'll start to see a pattern. Everybody will start to see a pattern. And then you'll start to realize, okay, this is how this is going to be, or this is what she's focusing on. This is what she's honing in on. You'll be able to see that after a few games. So I'm excited to kind of see what that pattern is, or at least what she's trying to do, and then make an assumption after that.
I want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsor, Lance Shuttler of Ascent Nutrition, and I'm pleased to be joined briefly here by Lance Shuttler himself, a good friend of mine. And Lance, I know I've talked about you for here the last couple of years as you've been a part of this network. Thank you for being a loyal part of this show. But for people that don't know you, I want to take a quick moment to kind of introduce you and your background. You graduated from Iowa, you grew up in the state, and you're a huge Hawkeye fan. So my first question I want to ask you is, during your time as a student and as a Hawkeye fan, do you have like a top 3 moments in Hawkeye history that you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, great question, Corey. And thank you as well. We're happy to be associated with you and your brand. and everything that you do for Hawkeyes and Hawkeye sports. I appreciate it, and your friendship too. So thank you. So, the top three games, Corey, I know everyone's going to remember these. So 2009, I'll go 3-2-1. So number three, 2009, Iowa versus Indiana. Everyone remembers how we were down. Indiana was about to score and really put the nail in the coffin. And then Tyler Sash had that miracle interception, turned the whole game around. I was sitting in the student section, close to the end zone there, and had a great view of it, and just truly wild.
That was a Mark Jones ESPN call, a pinball interception for Tyler Sash, and we certainly miss Tyler Sash. Give us your number two.
So number two, it's that same year, earlier in the year, which was Northern Iowa. So obviously, you had said prior to this, Iowa had no business even being behind in that game. And, Northern Iowa kept it close, had a chance late. Obviously, the first field goal blocked, but then you and I recovered. They get a second chance. I was sitting right behind the goalpost, probably 40 rows up or so. So like perfect view for it. And, I remember thinking there's no way that they're going to be able to block this again. Like, how are they going to do this? And I know everyone was thinking the same thing. Blocked it. Everyone went wild in the student section. The whole stadium, just unbelievable. But just the thrill of that was really a wonderful memory. And I had a lot of good friends that I've been to games with, and they were there with me for that one too.
Lesson learned there. Pick up the ball. If you block the field goal, just pick it up. You don't have to put your hands up and run away from the ball. So anyways, lesson learned for that Iowa special teams unit. And then number one.
The year before, 2008, Penn State, when they were number three, undefeated, coming into Iowa City. Sean Green had a monster year that year, and Iowa wins it late. They basically had to drive the field, get into field goal range. Daniel Murray kicks in late. I remember I was there with one of my best friends, my best friend growing up, and we went to so many Hawkeye games. We were right there down next to the players. He had a family member on the team, and so we had close seats there and waiting in anticipation for Daniel to kick it in. He did, storm the field, and rest is history.
That was the green out game. And quick mention as far as a lesson learned there, don't storm the field until the clock hits zero, because they had to get everybody off the field and then run one final play. So I want to ask you, in addition to going to a lot of football games, another passion of yours, especially when you were at Iowa and then beyond, was, well, you studied health science at Iowa. So I'm curious the connection between that. How'd you get into that as far as your interest and then the application to this great company that we've been working with, Ascent Nutrition?
Yeah, thanks, Corey. So, when I grew up, I was always playing sports and really active outside, just moving around a lot. Small town Iowa, that's what we had to do, as you know, and being outside, having fun with friends, playing sports, and just being active. And that kind of just translated over when I was in school, playing sports in high school. And then once I got to college, just continuing to stay active and really started to learn more of the science around health and wellness and activity and exercise and sports and all that. So it's just kind of a natural fit. And then when I started learning more about health and wellness at school there and outside of school, just started to see that a lot of these natural solutions need to get out there more to people, and that they really can help people. I had a personal story that kind of relates to that, and really just wanted to bring out natural foods, natural products that can actually help human physiology, whether that's through sports, performance, or just, your average everyday person who wants to feel better, feel happier. And so that's what we do: organic, wild harvested nutrients. So super pure and clean, and really adding good nutrition into the body for people.
That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to be part of this partnership, because Iowa football is all about making sure your body's right first, right? Your body and mind. And if those two things, those prerequisites aren't in place, then you're going to fail. I mean, I think Kirk Ferentz would agree with that sentiment. So if people haven't checked out your products, there's a link in our description on this video, on this podcast. But we did our your top three games during your time at Iowa, your Hawkeye history, your memories at Iowa. Give us your top three products. Do you have a top three you can share with us that people should research and check out and possibly try?
Yeah, thanks, Corey. So number three, I would say would be the humic and fulvic acid. Couple main points and reasons is that it helps with the gut. A lot of people have gut issues these days, but it helps detox and it helps with gut health and immunity. A lot of people actually feel benefits from it in terms of just increased energy, increased mental acuity, and more focus. Number two would be pine needle extract. So we wild harvest pine needles, and what we do is store them in organic vegetable glycerin, and it gives it a nice sweet taste. But a lot of people have heard of pine needle tea for the vitamin C, immune and respiratory health, especially as the colder months are now, upon us. Pine needle extract, that's number two, and just good for immunity and just overall health, especially during winter months. And then number one would be the pine pollen tincture. So that one's got 200 different nutrients in it, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and a great source of phytohormones. So good for just overall adrenal support, hormone support, and cardiovascular support for people. A lot of people will take it for endurance as well. So athletes take pine pollen. It does mimic human hormones in some ways, which is beneficial. And so this is why it helps with just greater energy levels and feeling like your adrenals and hormones are actually balanced out and healthy.
Great stuff. And people haven't checked out your coffee too. The organic coffee is fabulous. It's clean, it's pure, just tastes great. So Lance, we're just so pleased to have you a part of the show and supporting not just this show, but Hawkeye Nation as a whole, and being able to give people great coverage on Hawkeye athletics, and also making people's lives better with the great products that you guys offer down at Ascent Nutrition. And supporting a fellow Hawkeye fan like yourself is a pleasure on my part. So thank you for taking the time here during this brief segment, and we look forward to our continued partnership.
Thank you too, Corey. Go Hawks.
Are you at all worried about point guard?
I'm worried about backup.
Well, that's what I mean. Like Lucy Olson.
Oh, okay.
Lucy Olson's going to have the ball in her hands a lot. She's going to score a lot, and she's going to command the offense. But they don't have depth, and no proven depth at point guard. I mean, they recruited Kenise Johnson-Etienne. She struggled with injuries. I don't know where she's at health-wise, but developmentally, she's not shown to be someone who's capable of being a viable Big Ten backup. You've got a couple of freshmen who I think have tremendous potential in Aaliyah Guyton, whose father was a pro, played for Bobby Knight at Indiana. Her mom was a professional Brazilian player. I think she's a dog, and she's going to be a dog, but she's hurt, and she's recovering from a serious knee injury. Taylor Stremlow, I think, is probably the backup right now. But you mentioned like Taylor McCabe maybe not being the best ball handler. Kylie Feuerbach can handle the ball a little bit. Sydney can handle the ball a little bit. But, man, Lucy's got to stay healthy, and she's got to stay out of foul trouble. It's very similar to how I feel about Iowa men's basketball at the 5 with Owen Freeman, because they don't have an interior post presence without Owen Freeman. And here's a guy who struggled with foul trouble as a freshman.
Yes, he did.
And you're just like, man, that you got a lot riding on one big thing that may or may not happen. That's kind of how I feel about the point guard spot.
Well, I mean, it's not like we didn't have these feelings last year, because we had everything riding on Caitlin. So, I mean, technically speaking,
you had Molly, right? Until the tournament, you had Molly Davis.
You're right. Yes, you are right. I will say this though: what's going to end up happening is that it's going to have to be a gang effort. It's not going to be just one person. The answer is not just one person when it comes to a backup at the point guard position. It's going to be a few of them helping out in certain situations, things like that. Because like I said, there isn't just one person who could do that. So yeah, that's definitely a weak spot. That's definitely a place of emphasis.
Let's talk a little bit about Tegan Mullaney. I mean, she comes out on Friday and fearless. I mean, that's one thing I tweeted out right away in watching her. Like,
she was ready to go.
And she can handle the ball a little bit. She's not point guard, but the comparisons have been made to McKenna Warnock, I think in part due to her length, and then also her ability to stop and pop. But she can shoot off the dribble. She can shoot in transition. She's probably going to be their sixth player. I mean, like, yeah, you're going to have nights where Taylor McCabe sees a lot of minutes. I shouldn't say that, because once Sydney falters back, then you're going to have a logjam there, and it's going to be probably Kylie Feuerbach or McCabe coming off the bench. But as of right now, until Sydney's completely healthy, Tegan looked like the sixth best player in that exhibition, and she may end up being a starter earlier in her career than we thought. Now, again, is she more of a natural 3 or 4? I don't know, but having her length, I think, will help you on the glass for one. And just talk a little bit about your expectations for Tegan, another part of that really talented group partly from Wisconsin, and her and Stremlo.
I like Tegan. I think as a freshman, in order for you to come in and make a statement, you have to have confidence. And she came out right off the bat with it. And so I think that she is a very, very good option for us. Like I said, I would not be surprised if she starts sooner rather than later with that. But yeah, I think I agree with you with the 6-man right now. I can agree with that. I think that she has ability to shoot. She's got length. She can rebound. She's going to give us different looks because of her size. Especially if you want to play zone or something like that, it allows you to play zone without losing shooter. If you need to be bigger, things like that. So I think that she definitely gives us something different. And I like her personally. I think, like I said, I would not be surprised if she starts sooner rather than later, and get the 2 small ones out of the lineup.
You're going to be at that game in Charlotte, game 2?
Maybe. I have been very busy and I have not reached out to the coaching staff. And I know that the Spectrum Center is a hot mess. So, I'm planning on doing that like today or tomorrow. I don't know. If they give me tickets, then yes. If they don't, no. I'll be watching from the same place you're watching.
Somebody will get you tickets, Cash.
So we'll see.
How far of a drive is the Spectrum Center from your place?
Less than 20 minutes.
Okay. And it's a different look Virginia Tech team. I got ripped the other night after I was doing my post-game show because I made a comment about how Iowa played or is playing a Virginia Tech that's been to the Final Four recently and is loaded. And I was immediately ripped because apparently they've lost like everything. I know their head coach is gone, and you lose a lot. But they've been, I'd call them a mini power here of late. So that's an early test for a very young team. It's not like the Iowa men who kind of get to test the waters a little bit and then jump into some Power 4 play. It's a 0 to 60, and I'm guessing you're gonna have mostly Virginia Tech fans down there, and maybe I'm way off because Iowa fans are nuts and they're passionate. That was not
the case last year, but I mean, we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, last year Iowa out.
What can you tell me about the Northern Illinois Huskies?
Northern Illinois Huskies?
I'm just kidding. That's their week.
Oh.
That's their game 1 opponent, Cash.
No idea. That should be interesting. How about that? Any game we play should be interesting all year. That's what I'm going to say.
All right, let's go through some predictions. Finish this thing off here because for people that don't know, Kachine joined this show last season late, and we're going to hope to get Kachine as much as possible. But she's also a volleyball player. She's a social media influencer, and she's a mother. So she's got her plate full. And so, Cash, we're going to enjoy having you for post-game coverage when you can make it work with that busy schedule. But let's talk predictions. I don't often ask our experts prediction questions because, like Coach Close and Coach Patterson, they're kind of the older generation. They like to take the coaching mindset. They don't want to be talking about March in November. But I'll ask you because, you're Kachine Alexander. What do you think this team will do? I saw a post from our guy Kyle Huseman over at On3 earlier today that some early bracketologist person has Iowa as a 6 seed in the same region as Iowa State, which would be fascinating. But again, just predictions. Is that overestimating this team? I think it probably is a little bit at this point. That would mean they're top 24. They're not even preseason top 25.
Iowa fans aren't going to like me very much, but listen, if we made the 6 seed, I think everybody, okay, at this point, like you're literally going from nothing. Like you have a blank slate. Like, I get it. Yes, Hannah Stuelke is really the only person. I know to us, Sydney and Falter, but Sydney did not do anything until the last half of the season. That does not count. So Hannah is really the only one that has really proven herself, like, from start to finish. Like that. That's literally it. Lucy, yes, she proved herself at Villanova, but Villanova ain't the Big Ten. So nobody really knows anything. It's like a shot in the dark. So when that happens, now I'm hoping that the coaching staff is leaning on that in the sense of, listen, y'all, everybody forgot about us. Caitlin gone, everybody gone. Nobody cares, right? So you're going to be the underdog pretty much in every game you play. So if that is the case, the pressure should be off. The pressure is not what it was last year, the year before that. Maybe from you Iowa Hawkeye fans. I need y'all to relax. But as far as everybody else is concerned, they're not thinking about Iowa. So that should give us the headspace to just play basketball. So yeah, 60. Wow. That's wow.
This team sold out the season.
Carver is because Iowa fans are great. That has nothing to do with how good we're going to be.
All right. I mean, hey, I'm not asking you to tell me that they're going to be
They're just exciting.
So how good are they going to be? How good are they going to be? How bad are they going to be? Are they going to make
I think in the middle, because I don't think we're going to be horrible. Like, I don't think that.
Tournament.
Huh?
Will they make the NCAA tournament? They will make the NCAA tournament, and it's going to be in large part because of the Lucy Olson transfer. If they didn't get Lucy in the offseason, I would have said...
I can agree with that statement. But the only reason why... Okay, can we put a caveat on that? They make the tournament if Lucy stays healthy.
Yeah. I was thinking...
All right, we'll put a caveat. On that.
Very fair. Because I don't know who's playing the point. I mean, going back to that...
If we stay healthy all the way around, Hannah, Sydney, if we stay healthy, then I can see that happening.
And they have not been healthy since this group got together.
Hence why I'm a little nervous by saying anything that you were saying. So that's why I put a caveat on it. Because I don't know what we were doing this offseason at this point. Like, what happened? So, yeah.
Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their tough core, click together, 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. I think this team will make the tournament. I think they'll be a bottom, probably 4 seed. In other words, like what would that make them? Like anywhere from 7 or 8 to 11.
Oh, probably. I thought you was talking about last 4 in. I was gonna say, Lord.
Oh no. Well, that who knows? Maybe.
Maybe.
But I think what you said is absolutely fair. Playing with house money, you're going to have such unbelievable crowd support and home court advantage. Let's not underestimate that, because this is
for sure,
a fan base that has not checked out just because it lost Caitlin Clark, who might be the greatest women's college basketball player of all time. You know, back at this years later.
When it's all said and done.
Absolutely. And I just think the home court advantage led by someone in Lucy Olson, if she stays healthy, who may be one of the 2 or 3 best scorers in the country this year, maybe. Different level, different. I mean, Big East is different than the Big Ten. I get that. I just think it's going to be fascinating to see battles of Lucy versus Juju, and Iowa versus Indiana. Now that Caitlin's gone, there were so many great battles with Terry and Lisa.
Ohio State,
absolutely. Ohio State, Michigan looked good tonight. You mentioned
they did.
So, the Iowa men's basketball outlook via the conference, there was a lot more loss across the league. Whereas Iowa, the men didn't lose as much. I mean, lose Ben Krikke, lose Tony Perkins, but they retain a lot with Peyton Sanford, etc. The women are almost the polar opposite. Like, the league returns a lot more players
A
across
lot.
whereas Iowa does not.
Mm-hmm.
But the women have the fan support and the men do not. So it's very fast. You hate to almost compare these two programs, but
come on, Iowa. Maybe it'll flip-flop this year. Maybe the men will get their fans back. I pray and hope that they do.
Wouldn't it be great if both could make the tournament and both could make the second weekend? Wouldn't that be great?
It'd be great. I really hope that Iowa rallies around the men this year. I really do.
Yeah. Well, based on what we saw tonight, I don't think there's going to be any rallying anytime soon. That doesn't mean they won't down the line. They won by 22. They won by 22.
Really exciting. I don't know how else to say that.
The non-conference schedule, Kachine, for the men is not what the women's is. And hey, how about the women playing Kansas on a neutral court? They get Virginia Tech and Charlotte, and they get Iowa State. And that is an Iowa State team led by Audie Crooks that is going to be really season top.
I'm not looking forward to seeing her again, but okay.
And I don't know how does Iowa deal with her.
They didn't know how to deal with her last time, so who knows?
And she's gonna be better this year.
Yeah, she's gonna be better. She's gonna be more in shape. She's gonna be able to last longer. Yeah, she's gonna be a problem.
And the women they have a common opponent with the men, and that is Washington State. They play BYU down in Cancun. And oh, by the way, another one I missed out in Brooklyn. They get Tennessee on December 7th. Not to mention in-state battles with Drake in Northern Iowa. The schedule is difficult, and going to the Knapp Center in Des Moines is always fun.
Always terrible. Did you say fun?
I say fun from a fan's perspective.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, always horrible. It's been like that since I was playing.
I was at that game.
I don't know what it is about that place that we could be so much better than them, and for whatever reason, it's always a tight game. I don't know what it is, but you know what? Hey.
I was at that game 2 years ago and goes to overtime with Caitlin Clark, Monica Sonano, and Iowa pulls that game off. But it was such an amazing atmosphere. It's like a high school gym packed in there. It's just really cool. And it's about a 30-minute drive from my place. So, Kachine, anything I missed? I know we could be here for hours, and we're kind of keeping this shorter because we're going to be talking about this team for months, which is great. Women's basketball is back. The Hawkeye women are back. Anything I missed that you feel is relevant to this season?
No, I think we covered it thus far. That's what we'll say.
The Hawkeyes face off against the Huskies of Northern Illinois in the regular season opener on Wednesday, November 6th, 6:30 p.m. Central Time on BTN Plus. Excuse me, Big Ten Plus, no longer called BTN Plus, Big Ten Plus. And it is a subscription site, and there are 10 games on Big Ten Plus. So, folks, I have been, by the way.
How many games are on Peacock?
There's a few. Do you have Peacock? Did you get Peacock? Did you cancel?
I did. Peacock? I guess I got to get it back. All right, fine. Well, I got rid of it after the season.
You have Big Ten Plus now. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
I guess I got to get Peacock back.
There are a number of streamed games, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. At least they're all accessible because people.
I agree.
The attention around this team and this program is at an all-time high. Kachine, it's been a pleasure as always, and we'll look forward to many more of these and talking to fans and whatnot. Keep the Snuggie game going strong.
I got lots this season. I'll be bringing them out like Skittles. Don't worry.
I'll never wear one on the show, but it's getting cold enough here in Iowa. It might be time. Can you imagine me busting one of those out on this show? Can you imagine?
That's exactly why you should. That's exactly why you should.
Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what, if the women find a way to navigate this conference and win a Big Ten title, I will wear one. If they win the Big Ten title.
Clock it, everyone. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
And I know this is a recording, so don't you dare delete it and or not post it, Corey.
I will absolutely post it. If they win the Big Ten title and are the best of 18 teams, I will be happy to wear a Snuggie because I think that's very unlikely to happen, but I'll put it out there.
I'll take it.
All right, folks. For Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Brada. This is from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Stay with us throughout the season for post-game coverage following each women's basketball game. Have a great night.